Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Well, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Primetime Local News. Connor Chan and Jasmine King here, bringing you all the stuff that we have on the show today, including with our question of the day segment coming up later on. What's one thing that you did as a kid that you still enjoy doing as an adult?
I still, when I'm with my friends and everything, and it's late at night and we're really bored, I'll still enjoy going to a playground with them and then playing grounders or playing something, or playing with the activities on the playground. It's just still fun to me.
I never got into grounders. I don't think I was a huge fan of that. But
you're missing out.
Yeah, probably, but it's all good. But we're going to read some of the answers and much more later on into the show. But right now, let's send over to Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Thanks, guys. Well, today we are here at the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Center, and today we're in this room here with the Fine Art Show that has been going on here throughout the entire month and will continue on until this weekend. There's tons of cool stuff to check out in a variety of different categories and from all different ages from people around the area. So we're going to have some more here on what you can check out and also what they do have coming up to wrap up the entire event here this weekend. But first, we are going to go back into the studio where Jasmine has a look at your local news.
An unfortunate event at the Lloydminster District SPA turned out to have a happy ending. Over the weekend, the food shed at the Lloydminster District SPA was broken into as nearly all of the food was stolen. Word got out of the incident and the community stepped up to donate a substantial amount to replenish the food stock.
It's been actually quite well. As it happens so often, we weren't really expecting it to blow up as it did, but it's been really nice. It's brought our stash back up to where we'd like to have it.
Even with the community support, there's always opportunities to donate to the SPCA.
We take donations from Walmart, Superstore, PetSmart, and Pet Value, and they also donate to us as well. We take donations here at the shelter. We're always needing dog food, cat litter is a big one that we use a lot.
The SPCA is taking measures to ensure future incidents like this don't happen again with the installation of trail cameras. The Saskatchewan Health Authority has declared an HIV and syphilis outbreak for Northwestern Saskatchewan, and as our Josh Park reports, the number of reported cases over the last 5 months are staggering for the province.
Northwestern Saskatchewan has seen a recent skyrocket in the number of reported HIV and syphilis cases. HIV, which is most commonly spread through needles and the injection of drugs, and syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease, have hit substantial numbers. According to health officials, from January to the end of May, 15 new cases of HIV and 42 new cases of syphilis were reported in the Lloydminster and Battleford area.
Usually for syphilis, on average, we have less than 7 cases per year. And and then for HIV, usually, especially for North Battleford, we'll have less than 4, on average, 4 cases per year.
One of the major issues with both HIV and syphilis is the lack of physical symptoms associated with the diseases.
So they may not always be exhibiting symptoms. Some people walk around not knowing that they have it, and that often becomes a problem for transmission as well, because you can still pass it even though you may not be exhibiting symptoms.
The SHA is encouraging people in the infected areas to take caution surrounding both needles and sexual activity. It is recommended you go get tested if you think you may be at risk of having one of the diseases and take necessary medical steps.
I think in terms of accessing, if you think that you have it, it's definitely advisable to seek medical care immediately. These can be very serious diseases, so delaying treatment is not really advisable for the majority of people.
The SHA wants to ensure those living in Northwestern Saskatchewan know their status surrounding HIV and syphilis. As part of the efforts, free testing for the diseases is offered across the communities. Josh Park, Primetime Local News.
Members of the Lloydminster Rotary Club gathered this morning to take part in the Mental Health Animator Project. The event saw Rotary members discuss how each of them maintain a positive mental state on a day-to-day basis. The occasion was met with support from the members.
I think people were positive. I think that people were excited to learn that we're doing more work, and I think people are excited that we're doing something that's community-driven.
With mental health being a growing topic of the discussion in the Lloydminster community, Glenda's understands the struggles many have with their mental health.
We know that positive mental health affects us in many ways. I mean, when we aren't feeling well mentally, sometimes we get sick physically. It's hard to deal with the day-to-day stresses of life, and so it's really important that we take time to think about how we maintain that and maintain that positive outlook, and helps us with the ability to cope.
The second fire hall in the border city has been in operation for just around 10 years. In this week's retrospect, I take a look at how having that second fire hall has been benefiting the community.
While the city's population is still on the rise and new homes are going up every month, work continues on the new fire hall.
Well, they're at the foundation stage, and there's a lot of handwork to sort of get that ready. So we're on schedule. Should be finished this fall, barring any major changes or upsets in the workflow.
Located in front of Lakeland College, it should improve response times for the south end of the city.
The problem with the existing fire hall is that it doesn't meet the needs of the distances that we have to go in the southwest. Putting that fire hall over in the southwest by the park gives us good access to the southwest as well as the southeast, and a fairly good path as well to the north.
Flash forward to now, when the fire hall has been up and running for 9 years, and with Lakeside and College Park being built near the fire hall, having one located closer to that side of the community has been vital for the fire department and how they can help those residents.
It's really made a dramatic impact on the services we provide to the community. It has greatly enhanced our ability to respond, especially in that south and western urban sprawl that we have experienced in our community. If anyone's been here since 2010, you can notice that our community has grown in leaps and bounds, and with that, the demand for service has also increased, especially in those areas of the community.
Having a second location on the opposite part of the city has greatly affected the capability and effectiveness of what they can offer.
It's dramatically created better efficiencies within our community. The ability to respond out of 2 stations allows for greater response times, as well as we don't have to worry as much about road closures and barriers in our response, because we do have those 2 responding stations.
That's it for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Webb's Machinery, your New Holland dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, and Lamont.
Now we go to our Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Once again, we are back here at the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Center, and I'm joined now by Cindy Soerle-Kikinger, and now we're talking a little bit about the fine arts show that you guys do have going on here. So first, can you just give a little bit of background as to what the fine arts show actually is?
This is kind of my baby. We've been doing this now. This is, I think, our 13th year of doing this, and it was all from the Lieutenant Governor General of Alberta's Arts Award, and they wanted to bring the arts to smaller communities, and Lloydminster put in a bid to host something, and we won it. So that was the very first festival that we did, and part of that was the art show, and we had people from all over the region enter, and we're proud of that. Like, we like to have work from everywhere, because different areas have different styles, different points of view, and we like to focus on that. And so since then, it started off just a few days. Now it's the majority of the month. And we have different categories. It's from 3-dimensional, painting, wildlife, contemporary artwork, portraiture, figurative, botanical, you name it. Anything goes. When it says open borders, we mean without borders. So that's what it's about.
All right, thank you. We're going to have a little bit more back from here with more on the fine arts show, but first we're going to go back into the studio.
All right, thanks very much, Eric. Take a look at your current temperatures right now. 22 degrees right now for us here in Lloydminster with some sun and some clouds outside right now. Take a look at those wind gusts right now. 12 kilometers an hour coming in from the southeast there, so not too heavy. Records this time of year, 29 degrees is our warmest temperature on this day back in 1988, while 2 degrees our coolest back in 2004. As we take a look at precipitation, satellite radar map, right now, not a whole lot of activity, but that could change in the next 24 hours as we are expected some showers over the next several days here, which we'll showcase in just a little bit here. But take a look at some other current temperatures right now. 25 degrees for Cold Lake, 26 in Athabasca, Edmonton, and Edson, 24 in Red Deer, 27 degrees out in Jasper, out in Saskatchewan, 21 degrees in Meadow Lake, 22 for Prince Albert and North Battleford, 23 in Saskatoon, and 21 degrees right now for Melfort. As we take a look at in-depth look to the regional temperatures, clear skies overnight in North Battleford, sitting at 9 degrees. They'll go to 26 degrees tomorrow with mostly sunny skies there for their daytime high. 11 degrees overnight in Cold Lake with some clear skies, going into 23 degrees tomorrow for their daytime high with some showers on the horizon there. And for us here in Lloydminster, 10 degrees overnight with clear skies, as we'll see 23 degrees tomorrow as well, but mostly seeing some showers throughout the day tomorrow. So here's the next 3 days. It is going to expected some rain over those several days. So 23 for tomorrow, 17 degrees on Wednesday with a 65% chance we could see a thunder shower in there as well, and also 17 degrees on Thursday as the percentage increases for showers with 72%. We could see possibly on the Wednesday, or tomorrow rather, maybe a couple millimeters of rain, and then it may gradually increase over the next couple of days, usually averaging 21 degrees for a daytime high around this time of year and averaging usually 9 degrees for our low, so around the ballpark for both those areas. But that's a first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. Health Canada is advising Canadians to stop using all human and veterinary drug products containing gentian violet. Gentian violet is an antiseptic dye used to treat fungal infections, but a Health Canada safety review has found that exposure to products containing it may increase the risk of cancer. The department concluded that, as with other known cancer-causing substances, there is no safe level of the products, and therefore any exposure to them is a potential cause for concern. The review was triggered by a World Health Organization recommendation on the potential risk of cancer associated with veterinary drug residues in foods. And now we'll take a look at your egg prices.
Every member of the City Centre Auto Body team has been through extensive training. We're constantly upgrading our team's education to reflect current collision repair technique.
After their best stretch of the season, the Lloydminster Extreme followed it with their worst weekend, losing to a Warriors team coming off of 4 straight losses, then dropping a controversial affair at the Russ Robertson yesterday to the Sherwood Park Titans. A penalty and error-filled first 2 periods had the Extreme climbing out of it too big a hole, ending in defeat of 12-6.
We're really struggling to pick up balls right now, and you need possession in this game to win. So it's a matter of battling for it.
The biggest issue continues to come on the offensive end, where they couldn't get any motion.
Against weaker teams, you can beat them one-on-one, but when you play teams like Cold Lake and Sherwood Park, they're good defensively, they play with you, so we need to move, set picks, and play as a unit.
The Extreme have 2 games remaining, both at home. Rain wasn't able to append another weekend of chuck wagon racing as the CPCA stopped in Dewberry this weekend, where the leaders from 1 week were dominant once again. Todd Baptiste took home day money on Saturday and Sunday to win the show with a time of 30:32:61. He now has a 12-point lead over Brad McMahon in the CPCA driver standings. Dale McSwing and Chris Molly round out the top 4. While most basketball players, coaches, and fans were celebrating the Raptors' victory, one Holy Rosary Raider was competing south of the border. Ben Rose suited up for the Western Canada U17 squad in Deerfield Beach, Florida. The team lost their final round-robin game 60-58 to the South Florida Shockers. Now we go to our Eric Bay, who was on location earlier today.
Back here now at the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Center, talking about the Fine Art Show that has been going on here throughout the month. And I'm joined once again by Cindy Sorley-Kikinger. And we've been talking about how this is kind of a bunch of local artists are involved here. So what's the response like from local artists and the community just getting to see all this art that's created just right here, just across the street?
We've had a really good response from the community. And from what the center tells us, it's one of the more popular exhibits they have every year. And it reaches quite an area. Like, we've got people from Elk Point, Cold Lake. There's some that are southern, like Cochrane, Calgary, Edmonton. And I think there's some from Wainwright too. I'd have to look at my list.
Yeah, no, so definitely covers a wide area, and now this is also a juried art show. So can you just explain what that actually is and kind of maybe the process of how this art does end up in the show?
We have a juror that we get. Generally, I get to pick the juror, and I'm glad she's got the job of picking the art. And I usually pick a juror that's Canadian and has got international recognition. This year, the juror was Deborah Tilby. She is an international juror. She juries all over the world, and she's very well known for her landscapes mostly. And we send her all the images on disc. I erase everybody's names, so it's a totally blind jury. She's got no idea who's who, and then she decides for each category who wins what, and then she goes over everything and decides what she thought was the top of the show. And then she tells me, and then I tell them.
All right, thank you once again for joining us. We are going to have a little bit more back from here, but first we are going to go back into the studio.
All right, thanks very much, Eric. Take a look at some other current temperatures right now. 22 still for us here in Lloydminster, 22 also out in Vermilion, 23 for Marwayne, St. Paul, and Bonnyville, 25 up in Cold Lake, 26 for Lac La Biche and Edmonton, 23 degrees in Wainwright, 24 in Provost, 23 degrees also out in Macklin, 21 degrees in Maidstone, 22 for North Battleford, 18 in St. Walburg, 23 in both Meadow Lake and Isle of Cross, 22 also out in Green Lake. Take a look at some other Saskatchewan temperatures, 25s in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, 23 out in La Ronge and South End, 22 for Flin Flon, 26 out in Stony Rapids, 30 degrees out in Peace River, 29 for Fort Chipewyan, 28 degrees right now in Fort McMurray, 27 for Slave Lake, and 25 degrees for Grand Prairie, along with 22 degrees for High Level. As we shift over to southern Alberta, 24 degrees for Medicine Hat, 23 in Lethbridge right now, 19 degrees in Calgary, 24 also for Coronation, and 21 out in Banff. As we shift over to southern Saskatchewan, 21 degrees in Kindersley, 20 in both Swift Current and Moose Jaw, 21 also out in Regina and Yorkton, and 19 degrees in Estevan. As we take a look at temperatures for tomorrow around our region here, 23 will be our daytime high. We are expected about possibly 5 millimeters of rain, and that number will go up over the next couple of days. We are expected a couple straight consecutive days of some showers there, possibly maybe 15 to 20 millimeters on Wednesday. So here is the next, like I said, the regional temperatures for tomorrow. 24 in Maidstone for tomorrow, 23 for St. Walburg, 26 for Meadow Lake, 25 in Green Lake and Isle of Cross tomorrow, 25 for Pierceland, 26 also out in North Battleford, 21 in Vermilion and Wainwright, 22 for Provost, 19 for Vegreville, 18 out in St. Paul, 17 degrees in Lac La Biche, 23 for Cold Lake, and 21 degrees out in Edmonton. So here is a look at the next 48 hours in terms of precipitation. Nothing really majorly for today, but as we make our way into tomorrow, around later in the evening part, around that 6 o'clock mark, we could be expecting that first bit of showers there, and then, like I said, more millimeters of rain expected for Wednesday as we kind of see that go into the yellowish green area, which could indicate 15 millimeters of rain for this region here. But as we take a look at the school day forecast, that rain may not come until a little later on into the evening there. So 8 a.m., 15 degrees with some clear skies, 18 at recess time, 21 at lunch, and 23 at home time, where we'll start to get a little bit cloudier, where we possibly could start to see the first bit of that rain. So with a 62% chance for tomorrow and 65% chance on Wednesday with a high of 17 degrees, as well as on Thursday as well. Wednesday, we could possibly see that thunder shower as well. 64% chance though on Friday with a high of 20 degrees, as well as Saturday with a 55% chance. Then we kind of take a lower percentage there for Sunday with mostly clear skies and a few clouds there with a high of 23 degrees and a high of 22 for Monday with cloud coverage there with a 25% chance we could see some showers there. So it's going to be a rainy next couple of days. We haven't had this kind of consecutive rain so far yet this spring, but we'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Now we'll go to our Eric Bay, who was on location today.
Once again, we are back here from the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Center talking about their fine art show, which is still going on. And I'm joined once again by Cindy Sorley-Kikinger. And now we've talked a little bit about the show itself, what it involves, but there's also something that visitors can do as well, and that is the People's Choice Awards. Can you talk about how that works?
We put a People's Choice component in because the juror might have a different taste than the general public. And so this is a way that people who come to see the show can look at the artwork and pick what they think is the best. And that's the whole thing about art. It's subjective. It doesn't matter if the mucky mucks, as I call them, think it's great or not. And art is very personal. And if it speaks to you, that's who you vote for. And so the youth artwork is not eligible for it, but everything else is. And so the public can pick what they want.
And now you guys are wrapping this up here at the end of this week, but you do have an artist meet and greet coming up on the weekend, so you can talk a little bit about that and how people can come out and meet the artists who did create this great artwork.
Yep, on June, don't want to go back to winter.
No.
June 23rd, this Sunday, at 1 until 3, we're having an artist meet and greet, and that's where the people who made this work will be. And at 2 o'clock at that same time, we will be giving out the awards for everybody, including the People's Choice, which people can vote on until Friday. And at that point, we can talk with the artists, see the artists, quiz the artists. It's up to you.
All right, thank you once again so much for joining us, sharing a little bit more about this fine art show. We are going to have some more coming back here at the Lloyd Cultural and Science Center, but first we are going to go back into the studio.
All right, our question of the day today, kind of a bit of a throwback. What's one thing that you did as a kid that you still enjoy doing as an adult? Couple of the answers, having naps. That's a common one. You don't appreciate that until you're an adult?
Yeah, I used to never be able to nap as a kid, and then once I got older, I was like, these are actually really nice. I should have done this more often.
I don't know how to nap. I wake up 20 minutes later and I just take a power nap is what.
Maybe it takes some training to be able to have a proper nap.
I need to work on that. Some other comments we had were playing with Legos. It's I know some people that still do that around their 20s and 30s as well. It's a good activity.
I think people still like to make them, so they have them on their desk or something, just to have the certain figures that are Star Wars ones or other themed ones.
Yeah. Of course, you said earlier, playing grounders. For me, I think it's more so watching cartoons. I'll go back and watch those old school kid ones, like Recess and Arthur, all that kind of stuff, and SpongeBob and all that.
Yeah, I'll still watch, if they come on the TV, I'll still watch them every once in a while. Or I'll even watch the, kids shows, the ones I used to watch on, this Disney Channel, because those, never get old, so I can always watch them again and again.
I think everyone who was born in the 90s that are watching kind of can relate to that, because we grew up on that.
Definitely true.
Well, it's a new week, and that means it's a new chance for you to win a $50 gift card to the Lloydminster Pet Pad. So this is Kana, or Kana, let's go with that. So submitted there. This is Gregory.
He looks pretty sad.
But it's cute though. It's very adorable nonetheless. This is Linus. He's got his toy.
Yeah, playing with his toy.
Looks like it's ripped, but.
Oh well.
This is Striker.
Taking a nap. There we go.
He's very adorable. And then this is Tika. This is my favorite one. I love how he's sitting in the front seat.
That is so cute.
He looks really happy.
He does.
Well, if your pet was shown on today, you're automatically entered to win a Lloydminster Pet Pad gift card worth $50.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Well, we're still in hangover mode in terms of the celebration that's occurred since Thursday. For those of you who watched the Toronto Raptors parade this morning, it's really quite the scene. Not as much to celebrate locally, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm never a good parade guy.
Yeah?
Too short. I'm kind of like the short kid at the parade. Can't see anything. You can just see heads. That's all.
Perhaps you should take over Kurt Price's spot with the Colonial Days parade this year.
No, I don't think so. I'm good. No. I'm good.
Okay, well, we know for sure that who won't be involved with the parade then. We're going to start on a slightly negative note locally with the Lloydminster Extreme. They had a tough outing this weekend, losing to the Warriors and then to the Titans from Sherwood Park. That was a tougher matchup, a controversial one with their head coach Graham Murray being ejected. And those two losses now make it a little tough for them to secure a higher seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it got nasty against them. And there were some questionable calls on in the game that Graham got questioned the referee with, and Graham gets the kick out. Yeah, you know what? They're the defending provincial champions, and anytime you're the defending provincial champions, you're going to have a big target on your back every night. So that's probably played a factor this year.
It certainly has. And then there's also the fact that they're a different team than they were last year. Last year, a lot of size, and really won in part thanks to how good their goaltending was late in the year to support their goal scoring.
But Petry's looked good this year too.
And Petry played well even in the loss against the Titans. But the issue that they're facing once again is because they're not as big a team, they're really reliant on their speed and their skill. And their guys are skilled enough to go at teams one-on-one and score goals one-on-one. But when you get against a good team like Sherwood Park or like Cold Lake, who it was inevitable they'll face in the playoffs, that's going to be more than skill involved to beat that team. That's going to be pick and roll, motion offense, something they didn't get done against the Titans.
Yeah, and so now it's kind of an uphill climb. They have to get some wins together and put back-to-back wins to get a good run here to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. Right now they're separated. A win separates them from their competition below on the playoff standings in the North Division. We'll follow that over the next couple of weeks as we head in. It's right around the corner already for playoff lacrosse coming up here. We did have chuck wagon racing, thankfully, this weekend. A little bit of rain in Alberta, but not enough to take things down. And as a result, Brad McMahon, another great night, but he doesn't win as Todd Baptiste takes home the Dewberry Show.
Yeah, Todd Baptiste wins back-to-back day money. He's split day money on Sunday with Chris Smalley, but gives him the show title in Dewberry on the weekends, continues to lead the driver's point standings, and now they head to a really short track in Wainwright. Todd's outfits are running well. It doesn't matter what barrel he's on. They're running very well. It bodes well for him, hopefully in Wainwright, and more than anything, bodes well for him in about 3 weeks' time as he hits the big track at the Calgary Stampede.
As do several other CPCA drivers that will take part. Also interesting to note that Chris Smalley had the second best overall time. Unfortunately, it wasn't his point wagon.
Yeah, it doesn't help him in the driver's standings. You can still win a show with your non-point wagon. So Chris Smalley's got to be happy and that shows you your depth, because Chris Smalley has two wagons. He has his point wagon, his non-point wagon. His non-point wagon goes earlier in the show. So good indication that if you're going to call upon some horses, and you're going to need a lot of horses as you go for 3 months in the CPCA Pro Tour, good indication that Chris is going to be really happy with what he has in his barn right now.
And just a few seconds to touch on the WPCAC winner in Medicine Hat, Kurt Bensmiller. Many folks know Chance Bensmiller's older brother wins that show, and that's got to bode well for him heading into the Stampede.
Yeah, he's the reigning Calgary Stampede champion. They're 3 weeks away, as we mentioned. Wins Medicine Hat, is leading the world standings, so good indication that Mr. Bensmiller is ready to defend his title in Calgary.
And don't forget, we also have the Wainwright Show before we get to Calgary. But first, a short break on Primetime Local News.
Hey, it's Sarah from Real Country 97.7, and here's your look at what's going on in St. Paul this week. This Friday is Indigenous Day, and to celebrate, the town of St. Paul FCSS is having a Walk of Friendship. Gathering at 1:15, everyone will walk together to the St. Paul Museum to enjoy light refreshments from 1:30 to 3:30 in celebration of friendship. More information on the walk is available at realcountrystpaul.ca/events. And celebrate Pride in St. Paul on June 22nd. Pride St. Paul is a family-friendly community potluck to celebrate gender and sexual diversity and promote awareness against bullying. The event will be a safe space for people to gather, meet supportive community members, and provide support for others. Organizers are hoping this becomes an annual event that raises awareness of diversity and inclusion and a sense of community. It's happening Saturday at Reunion Station from 10 to 2 p.m. More information on this event is at thetownofstpaul.ca. I'm Sarah, and that was your look at what's happening in St. Paul this week.
As we alluded earlier on the show, it has been 5 days straight of celebration, it feels like, since the Raptors took home the Larry O'Brien Trophy, or as Kawhi likes to call it, the Larry O.B. in Oakland. An amazing scene in Toronto. I'm still in somewhat disbelief, even though I covered the event on Thursday night at the Brew House, where many people were watching, and I've been following this team as a fan myself, in case those of you didn't notice me wearing a Kawhi jersey. It's still surreal to see the Raptors having won an NBA championship. And let's put it in perspective again. We haven't seen a North American title, aside from obviously the CFL and the Toronto FC Soccer Club winning a couple of years ago. We haven't seen a major title in North America since the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. It's a long time coming.
It is a long time that it comes back to Canada. You know, it's never been in Canada, but it's been a long time for a major championship in Canada regardless. You know, the Blue Jays, of course, did what they did, but that was many moons ago. And then you look at the Raptors, and more than anything, where do they go from here? And it's not just the Kawhi thing, does he sign with the Raptors, but how do the Raptors, they capture the imagination of the entire country. That's great, that's fantastic. Now, how do you grab that and pull it into the fall when they're back on the court for the regular season? How do you get all that? And the other thing is, what does this do to basketball in Canada? And we've had some great basketball players in the NBA draft, in the NCAA. So now, does that bode well for the future of basketball right across the country? Does it bring the hockey numbers down? Are you going to see kids playing basketball in the streets instead of playing street hockey, which would be great for dads like me, because that's going to save your garage door with tennis balls against it. But at the same time, it's be interesting to see the basketball programs, because we saw that after the bat flip with the Blue Jays. Baseball numbers go through the roof with kids at a very young age. So hopefully you see that in basketball too.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind is just not just the garage doors being saved, just purely on a sort of budgetary sense, and the risk involving with concussions. That's part of the problem facing football still to an extent. And there's that element of danger with hockey, like with any contact sport. You saw the outpouring of support across the country. That being said, I think one thing to keep in mind is if the Toronto Maple Leafs were to win a Stanley Cup, or even a team like the Vancouver Canucks or the Edmonton Oilers, they go all the way, I do believe that the country will rally around them in a similar fashion. And back then we'll already have the conversation of, is hockey back? Is hockey the main sport?
Yeah, and I don't know if I buy that.
Interesting.
People say that if the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, the whole country will be excited. Trust me, there's a lot of non-Leafs fans in Western Canada.
Oh, I agree with that.
There's a lot of
I do agree.
As much as the Leafs have a tremendous fan base across the country, but there's a lot of people that go to the Oilers games to hope that the Oilers beat the Leafs in that given night, and will boo the Leafs. So I think as much as they are maybe Canada's team, but guys like Mike Babcock and the Leafs are saying that. I don't think the rest of the country is saying that. I think the Raptors were that one team that everybody could gravitate to and cheer on.
And they certainly made it easy to cheer for them. Now we have to go less than 10 seconds for each answer, so a couple rapid fire answers. Will Kawhi Leonard stay, yes or no?
No. Go on the Clippers. That's his hometown.
That's a bummer. Quickly talk about hockey. The NHL Finals, a great game, well, not a great Game 7, but a great series between the Blues and the Bruins. Obviously a cool story seeing St. Louis win.
Yeah, I think more than anything, people are going to look back to it, and you always want to model yourself after whoever won the cup. So teams are going to look to see what the Blues did, and they're going to try to copy it. Why try to, do something that's out of the norm, do something that works, and it did work for the Blues.
And now we've just enough time to wrap up the show and promote another show that takes place tomorrow night.
Yeah, Tuesday night sports show from the Canadian Brew House. We'll be joined by Jason Davidson from Thunder Creek Sports Management. He has some players of the NHL draft. Also, we'll talk NBA with Jeff Blair, the recent induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame for Canada, by the way.
I saw that today.
And also, we'll talk a little CPCA and rugby on the Tuesday night sports show.
Rugby, another sport that's grown a lot here in the border city. Thanks very much, Buck, and enjoy the rest of the cast on Primetime Local News.